gegenseitige Austauschen, voneinander lernen, immer wieder befruchten und gegenseitig motivieren.
And this process of exchange, learning from each other, inspiring each other and motivating each other, that applies not just in terms of stakeholders and partners and the relevant players, but of course to the HPA itself and all of its employees. How do you make sure your people are on board on this journey in these times of rapid change and get them to focus on the team as a whole? It's all about playing as a team, and without team play, nothing would work. I believe you need to create a culture. You have to let people do their thing, but they need regular inspiration from their own team, and you need to give them space for that. We've established various formats within the HPA to do that, and we are constantly trying to tease out new ideas in conversations and workshops. That applies to all disciplines, not just IT. It applies to the engineers who are constantly looking for better solutions. And we have the Allianz model we talked about, creating the space to enable people to test things. And ultimately, it's the people who work here who define the quality of the company and the services it provides. And so, yes, in the old days, we used to say demand and support. Today, it's about making space for innovation and for creativity. And that's what we're trying to intensify at the HPA and create appropriate platforms for that. Right, so we're on the home stretch now. That went by fast. So Jens Meier, a last set of questions. What are Jens Meier's favorite places in the port of Hamburg? Where might we find you in 2022? Do you cycle or go jogging with your family? What are your favorite places? Because there are so many good places. What I like so much is that there are always these kind of hidden champion places that you wouldn't really have thought of. And I say that, and yet we get around a lot with our camera teams in the port of Hamburg, and we keep coming across places that are special. What are your favorites? Well, yes, that's an interesting question, and I'm frequently asked it. There are places where you can eat really well. Generally, I'm more of a motorcyclist than a cyclist, and so I go to many different places in the port. And when I inspect construction sites or look at projects on the ground, I move around the port a lot. The places I stop are really interesting and range from the Bunthäuser Spitze to the Elbstrände, where many people think that's pure nature. I like to see people on the Elbstrände, and it occurs to me that they may not know that we make sure the beaches remain beautiful because we keep replenishing the sand there. That's a good place to relax. There's one place I like to go that isn't part of the port. That's the Fischereihafen restaurant. Because when you have guests, they always enjoy the view of the port. Because, as you said already, everything going on in the port is so interesting. But in the video, you also saw the perspective from the other side. When you're in our Nautic headquarters, where the pilots are located, where they're picked up and dropped off. When you see big ships coming in, be they container ships or general cargo ships, or a container and ro-ro ship, it's just really fascinating that they're so quiet and they just slip by so pleasantly. That makes me feel really good, and I just enjoy the port of Hamburg in that moment.
Dann fühle ich mich richtig wohl und genieße auch den Hamburger Hafen mal für einen Moment.
And so what fish will you be eating today? Cod, salmon, or just a traditional battered fish? Well, my favorite fish is in fact North Sea sole, but I don't eat that every day, it's much too expensive. I also eat battered fish and a fish roll sometimes too, sometimes with pickled herring. But that's not a very Elba fish. But because I come from a fishing family, I tend to eat more fish than meat. And I'm very flexible.
Lieber Fisch als Fleisch, und da bin ich sehr flexibel.
And when you're not in a restaurant, can we find you in the kitchen at home cooking for the whole family because you're from a fishing family, cooking the tastiest fish you can imagine? Exactly. Or is that just wishful thinking? Should we really be talking to your wife? Well, yes, my wife is the expert, really. I'm not as good as she is. I wouldn't starve, but that's not really my strength. Well, thanks very much for your time. It's been very interesting. It was a lot of fun. And of course, we have a traditional finale to our Port is What We Do videos. At the end, we get people to say Port is what we do with all the passion we can muster. And we have to do that as well. So let's count down. 3, 2, 1. Both of us looking into the camera. Let's see if we can do that. 3, 2, 1. Port is what we do. And in that vein, as they say in Hamburg, tschüss. Have a good 2022. Thank you very much.
Dankeschön.